Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our second episode of Not Overthinking this year. Is that right?
No way. No, it's definitely not the second this year. It's probably like the fifth or the fourth. Because I think when we were living together, we recorded probably like 2 episodes or
Twice.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
I think we did a few episodes of Why Love Hurts, and then everyone
Oh,
hated
yeah.
it, and then we just
And
gave
then
up.
and then we stopped.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw
But no,
I saw a fun comment on last week's episode where people were like, "I don't believe Ollie's productivity advice. He's such a scammer because he can't even make 1 hour to talk to his brother."
yeah.
he lives with."
I saw that comment. It was like, yeah. These
Or
guys are
what's
meant
that
to like
effect?
are always talking about productivity, but they can't even get 1 hour a week. So it obviously doesn't work. Something like this.
Yeah. Well, that's the one. The productivity
Anyway,
doesn't work.
we have managed to get an hour a week now for 2 weeks.
We have.
Or maybe the last one was 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks
No, the
ago?
last one
I
was
think
actually
it was 2 weeks.
it was released last week. So
Okay, yeah. We recorded it 2 weeks ago. So
yeah, we
this will
recorded it
probably
13
be
days
out
ago.
next week. Yeah.
But yeah, actually, we'll aim to get this out sooner than that. If anyone on
Nice.
my team is working on Christmas Eve, because it's currently 9 a.m. on Sunday, the 24th of December, where I am in Sydney, Australia.
Wowzers. It's currently 10 p.m. where I am in the UK. How's Australia? You've been there a couple of days now?
Yeah, I've been here for nearly a week. Got here 6 days ago. It's
What's
great,
the vibes?
mate. Sydney is super cool. The weather is super nice. I guess it's like the middle of the summer, so it's vibey. And Sydney as a city is pretty incredible. It's like, imagine London, but if there was a massive ass like body of water going all the way through London, so that wherever you
Like the
were
River
in like
You
this,
mean like the River Thames?
imagine like the River Thames, but like 20 times bigger than the River Thames, kind of thing. Wait, you just disconnected.
Wait, is your Wi-Fi rubbish?
Don't think so. I think it's reasonable.
Mine is like 150 megs, 200 megs.
Okay, mine's more rubbish than that. But
Oh, okay. Wait, so you're saying
anyway,
there's a large
so
body of water running through London?
there's a big ass River Thames, but it's like way bigger than the River Thames, and there's like kind of boats and stuff on it, and like you've got not only is it the River Thames that's like 20 times bigger than the River Thames, but you also have like it's also like bang on the coast. So you've got like loads of beaches and stuff, and you have like tons of different beaches to choose from, and
Yeah.
wherever you look, you're sort of in this. Basically, wherever you go, you have this like really cool sea harbor type view with like a big ass bridge going across the harbor. It's like,
Oh, nice.
it's really cool. It's got like, yeah, it's like beach meets like marina meets harbor meets like they've also got like mountains and stuff nearby and like national parks that are like half an hour drive away. There's a lot
Yeah.
of stuff that's congregated in this little kind of area in Australia, in Sydney. So it's super
Okay.
nice.
What are the people like? Have you met any like fans, or are there like internet people?
Yeah, I had a bit of a dinner with some creative friends who I'd never met before the other day, and they were very friendly and good vibes. And yeah, I mean, I guess people in Australia are broadly similar to people elsewhere, i.e.,
Yeah.
generally friendly and nice. And yeah,
Nice.
it's been a good
Okay.
experience. Yeah. What about you? What have you been up to this last week or so?
Last week or so, um, pretty standard stuff. I am spending a few days at my in-laws' place over Christmas. So we got here yesterday. We here for until like next weekend basically. Um, what have I been doing? I am spending a little bit of time on a little side project over the break. So
Is this a calendar thing?
this is the calendar thing. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Do you want to pitch it to
Right.
our listeners?
All right. So just for some context, it's a bit of a sort of Christmas tradition now for the last few years that I do some like little coding type side project over the Christmas break. I think quite a few years now. So last year I resurrected Speed Sums, which was my magnum opus from 2013. Speedsums.com. You can go and check it out. So that had been offline for a few years. So last year I was like, okay, this Christmas I'm gonna like bring Speed Sums back online. The year before that, I believe Lucas and I were trying to build a chess NFT. This was NFT era.
Oh yeah.
So we never actually, yeah, we were just like pretty busy and stuff, and so we didn't actually end up launching
Oh,
that one. And
I
then
love how much conviction you had about that. I was so skeptical about this, and you were like, "No,
you were
man!"
scared about it.
Like, yeah,
I mean, look, it was a different time. All right, NFT. It was the NFT era. I still think the concept was pretty good. Anyway, we don't need to go into that. Anyway, so right, the pitch for this one. All right, here's a pitch. All right, if you are part of the laptop class, if you are a knowledge worker, if you work in an office, you might work remotely, work from home. But if you are a knowledge worker that works from a laptop, chances are that your entire work life will be dictated by your Google Calendar. You will have a Google Calendar for your work email. You will spend probably uh, two about 2 to 4 hours per day in meetings, internal meetings with people in your company. These might be sort of recurring meetings like the company all hands or some daily stand up or some team meeting or some weekly whatever, right? You'll be spending 2 to 4 hours per day in meetings. And overall, your organization is collectively spending hundreds of person hours in meetings every single week. So meetings are really big part of how people get work done, and Google Calendar is kind of the source of truth for like, hey, it's like the starting off point for like you check your Google Calendar, say, okay, what have I got in the next few hours? What have I got tomorrow? What have I got? Google Calendar is the thing you're coming back to, like 20 times a day. You've basically always got the Google Calendar tab open. You're always coming back to that to see, okay, what's next? Well, how much time do I have until my next thing or whatever, right? You with me so far?
absolutely. Just a
Okay,
question:
so
Do people go on calendar.google.com, or do most people use a third-party calendar app that's their source of truth that connects to a Google Calendar? In your
I
experience,
think most people go on Calendar. I use calendar.google.com. I've tried all of the whatever cool thingies, like freaking like
we tried Vimcal.
Vimcal, oh yeah, what are some of the other ones? There's like
Vimcal is
Vimcal, there's
great.
like cal.com or something.
Yeah, I
There
love
is
Vimcal. Vimcal is so good.
yeah. So look, my sense is that most people are just using the browser thingy. Sure, there might be some like productivity bros or whatever who are using third-party apps. I think most people using calendar.com, they're checking it like 20 times a day. So companies are clearly spending a lot of resources on internal meetings. Their team is spending a lot of time in internal meetings. And I think the thing is that most companies are probably not super thoughtful about these meetings. You just have these meetings in the calendar, you do the meeting, you probably have another meeting back to back. You have lots of work going on. And I don't think people are providing much feedback on how engaging meetings were, how productive meetings were. I think if companies want to solicit such feedback, someone then, this is not really part of anyone's sort of full time job. Someone has to decide, okay, I'm going to set up some like freaking Google form, which I'm going to send via email or via Slack after the meeting to get people to submit some meeting feedback, whatever, right? No one's got time for this. No one's got time to set this up. No one's got time to fill in random Google forms when you're rushing to your next meeting. And so, what we need is a one-click, frictionless way for anyone who has just attended a meeting to provide feedback on that meeting. All right, and what our product is, it is a widget for Google Calendar, so it's a Chrome extension that you can just install. And what it does is, when you go on Google Calendar and you click on a meeting, it brings up a little pop-up of like, hey, this is the time, these are the attendees, this is the Zoom link. Within that pop-up, you will see a simple little box with a 5-star rating widget. In one click, you click a rating out of 5 stars, and then you've rated the meeting. You can see like the average rating across all the attendees, and whoever is like the admin, the organizer of the meeting can see, okay, 12 people rated my meeting. The average is like 4.6, and here are all the individual ratings or something. It's that simple. Basically zero friction, super simple, but I think the frictionlessness is really the key here, because as soon as there's a little bit of friction, no one's going to do it. It's better to have like frequent kind of low resolution feedback, just 5-star rating, no comments or whatever. It's better to have like some feedback that's really low resolution than like no feedback that's like tries to be super high resolution, basically. And so super simple widget, you just see it in your calendar, one click you can rate these meetings, and yeah, that's what we're setting up basically. So
Hey,
A
that
couple
sounds
of
pretty good.
couple of bodies. Yeah, yeah. I think it's got some legs. Yeah, we'll just kind of launch it at the start of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I've been
mate, I want to
tinkering
want to
around that a little
incorporate
bit.
that into I want to incorporate that into my organization.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we can. Yeah, it should be ready for beta testing probably on like Christmas Day or something. So I'll ping it over and you
What
can
does it
test it out.
What does it take to make a Chrome extension? Like, how does one do that
I'm not
at a
actually
high
building
level?
the Chrome extension part of it. Another friend of mine is building that. But I don't think it's too bad. I mean, there are like frameworks nowadays that let you
Wait, so
like.
what are you doing then? If you're trying to build a Chrome extension and you're not building the Chrome extension, what's
I'm
going
building the
on?
marketing. I'm doing the marketing site. I'm doing the marketing site. You know, like the
Like talking
logo, the
about it on a
brand,
podcast.
the copy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be doing those. You know, some of the promo. You know, I'm the ideas guy. Okay, I had the idea. Right. I'm more of a big picture kind of, you know, blue sky thinking kind of guy. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Got it.
No, I mean, yeah, I'm doing the marketing side. When that comes to.
You're the visionary CEO rather than the integrator or the operator, or the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
doing
whatever the.
actually doing the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Nice.
I'm not a doer. I'm a talker. I'm a talker. You know,
Mm. What would you say
that's
to someone listening to this who's like, wait a minute, I like the idea of just being an ideas guy. Like,
yeah,
I come with a lot of ideas. So could I
yeah.
just like find someone to build those ideas for me?
No, I mean, look, I'm just joking around here about being an ideas guy or whatever. I think,
Because there are people
yeah,
that have that kind of thought.
yeah,
Our
yeah.
friend
I
James
think,
is a prime example of an ideas guy.
yeah. I don't know. Look, I'm sure there are examples of companies or businesses that were started by some ideas guy that like finds someone else to like build it for them and pays them some money or whatever. I don't, you know, I know a bunch of people who, you know, have startups or businesses or whatever. I don't think any of them are like the ideas guy sort of archetype. I think it's just very hard. I think like if you want to build something, if you want to like start something, you know, you probably want some like tangible skill, or you need to be some, you know, a very compelling individual that other people will want to, you know, follow based on just your idea or something. Because
Mm.
I think the truth is, if you're the ideas guy and you're looking for someone to build your idea, um, you know, if someone is sort of, if someone has technical skills, if they can code and they're entrepreneurial, what value are you adding? You know, from their point of view, it's like, okay, what value is the ideas guy adding at this point? Okay, I've heard the idea. You can't like, you know, you can't like can copyright an idea or something. I've heard the idea. What is this guy going to be doing? You know, for 12 hours a day while I'm like actually building the thing. He's going to be like probably sending emails or something, probably a few, but like it's definitely, you know, hard to imagine. So, yeah, look, I'm pretty anti ideas guy vibes. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, all three of us that are working on this are like technical and can build stuff, etc. And it's just like a fun thing that we're doing. With yeah,
Nice.
we each have a little role. But yeah, it's really fun. I love it. Yeah, it's so much fun just like building a little thing and just like launching a little thing. Yeah, it's great.
Mm. If you weren't doing causal, would you like to build and launch little things, kind of like Peter level style?
Probably not. Like I think it's fun just to like flex and to sort of use that muscle once in a while. And like this is an idea that had been in my head for like the last couple of months. As I was like, oh, okay, cool. Um, yeah, maybe. I mean, you know, Lucas and I were just talking about it, and then it was just like, okay, you know, we could just do this. So, you know, spend a couple of days over the Christmas holidays and just do this. Like, I didn't think I'd, you know, it's fun to do like once a year, just like launch something, get it out there, see what happens. Um, but I think, you know, I think it's more satisfying. I don't know. It's like I like working on causal stuff. It's more satisfying to like be building this bigger thing that like is getting better and, you know, all that kind of stuff rather than lots of small piecemeal things. But
Hmm.
each to their own, I think. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we're back. Had a bit of a DC.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like, if I back at university, yeah, I think. I think it's useful to be able to like put yourself back in the shoes, of like where you were like sort of 5 or 10 years ago. Because I remember back at university, I remember in first year of uni, some ideas guy, some like an ideas bro, basically. Okay, they're basically at Oxford. There was someone had made a big Google sheet of like um, computer science students or something who are interested in like startups or something. Someone just had some Google sheet, with a bunch of like the current students doing computer science who are interested in startups or something. And some ideas bro reached out. Lucas was on this sheet somehow, and some ideas bro reached out to Lucas with this idea. And the idea was quite classic. It was like, hey, why don't we, you know, lots of people want tutoring, private tutoring. Presumably, Oxford students are smart and would be good tutors. Let's build a marketplace where students can post themselves as tutors, and people can find them, and connect the students who want private tutors to the Oxford students, whatever. Very. I think once you go to university, this is like the first idea anyone ever comes up with. Yeah, I think like probably every year there's probably like 2 or 3 people trying to build this. Probably like 1 or 2 of them, get some traction every like 5 or 10 years or something. Anyway, so some ideas bro had like found this Google sheet and approached Lucas for this, and Lucas was keen to like get involved in some entrepreneurial stuff, like startup, but just build some stuff, make some money, kind of thing. And then Lucas wrote me and recruited me to kind of build it with him. And when I look back, I think like I remember the kind of stuff that I was quite impressed by, that I thought like, oh man, this is like a legit operation, was basically that this guy I remember basically this guy's pitch was like something like, he had the idea obviously, and he'd like registered the company, right? you know I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I was like, whoa, this is like a serious, he's registered the company and everything, and he's looking for some coders to build this thing, and then he's got some contacts, and he's gonna like do the marketing and the set, this kind of stuff. He's like a business. He seems like a pretty legit business guy. He's registered the freaking company. He's registered a limited company. For crying out loud. And I remember being like, I remember that feeling, oh wow, this is so legit. Anyway, look, that thing didn't really go anywhere. I think I can't remember the details, but I think we decided against working on it in the end or whatever. But like that kind of thing of like, wow, he's like registered a company. This is for real. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking back to like what was my understanding of the whole like business startup world back then. That was kind of like my level of understanding of like, wow, he's like registered a limited company, you know. Um,
Yeah, one thing I've been thinking about a lot recently is kind of the value of experience, and like the intangibles that you gain from experience that are not quite intangible, but it's just very hard to write down and to explain. And I've been thinking about this in the context of like kind of first time founders, second time founders. Because the thing that I'm building with my friend Pablo, Pablo is like a third time founder and has been doing this for a very long time,
okay,
and is like spending all his time doing user interviews, basically,
okay,
and like doing a lot of kind of user interviews and testing and just making sure that we have the right thing that we're actually working on, and hopping on calls with people, and like actively reaching out to the top 100 or so people who are power users and all this kind of stuff. And this is the exact opposite of what I would have been doing if I were building a thing. I would have gone
okay.
into a cave to build the thing and then tried to unveil it to the world, which is broadly not the recommended approach when it comes to doing startups or building anything.
Yeah,
And I've been thinking about this in the sense of as well, like my team now, like basically everyone in our team has been with us for at least 2 years. And
yeah,
I've definitely seen how over time every single person has leveled up. But if I were to like try and recruit someone brand new with no experience in a given role and
yeah,
try to explain like what is it about our head of customer success that makes Alison amazing, and that like would,
right,
if Alison were to leave us, like how would we find that other person? it would be
Yeah.
really hard to do because there's a lot of these sort of experiential intangibles that I think previously my model was everything is a skill, everything can be learned. How hard can it be?
Mm.
And now my model is like that may be true, but actually having someone who has spent 8 to 12 hours a day doing a thing for like months to years is creates loads of intangibles that are very hard to describe,
Yeah.
but are
Yeah.
incredibly useful when you have that person.
Yeah.
Um, and I experienced this starkly because we had two team members wanting to go for a rev ops role on our team.
Yeah.
One of them had experience doing rev ops for like 18 months at a bigger startup, and the other one did not, but knew in theory the concept of like building a CRM and like
Yeah. Yeah.
stuff. And speaking to both individually and also together made me realize, oh my goodness, the guy who's been doing it for 18 months knows an absolute megaton about this
Yeah.
field that I know very little about, and he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
educating me about the thing. Whereas when I was speaking to the person with no experience, she and I were just sort of like kind of working from roughly first principles of like, I guess we should have this database of contacts and stuff. And I
Right.
guess
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time we have an interaction with them, we should like, I don't know, update it. And is it like kind of electronic patient records in like hospitals
Yeah.
and shit?
Yeah.
This kind of thing. And then this other guy comes in and he's like, yeah, this is a thing. We've done this before. Like, here's how it works. Here's the whole framework
Yeah.
behind this. Yeah. Here, yep. I know that's what you're thinking, but actually blah, 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 blah. And oh yeah, we tried that, but actually we found out like 6 months down the line that strategy didn't work for that. And therefore we have to
Yeah.
like, I don't know, make our data better in this way and clean it up in this way. And I was like, whoa, that's the value of experience,
Mm.
which I previously did not have that kind of that sort of level of understanding of.
Yeah.
So I very much vibe with what you're saying.
Yeah. What was some? I mean, if you look back to like, when you were in the earlier days of your career, doing money making projects on the side, getting started with YouTube, were there other things like this whole like register, like for anyone who's not familiar with the process, anyone can go on the internet and register a company for £10 in the UK, and anyone in the US you can just register a company. There's a bit more admin and you pay a bit more money, but like having a registered company is like it doesn't mean anything. Whereas like before I'd kind of really been in the world for very long, to me that would have been like, whoa, I have no idea. Presumably you have to like be some super legit guy to register a company, and that means a lot or something. Can you like remember the kind of stuff earlier on that like you would have found impressive, or like you would have thought, oh man, that's like the thing, that like just obviously now you just know is it's not really meaningful.
That's a good question. Feel free to say some more things while I think.
I want to think about this because it's
What
hard.
did
Like
I
I think
find?
it's hard to like put yourself back in those shoes.
I think I previously knew nothing about fundraising, and I still don't know very much about it, but I've seen you do it enough times or attempt to do it enough times, and seen friends attempt to do it enough times
Mm.
to be like, okay, this is broadly how this works. Still, I know very little about it. But I think in the past, my approach to fundraising was more like, oh, so I guess you go on Dragon's Den and like make a pitch, or that
Right.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, to the point that if someone had like, yeah, I think for things like I think people use this sort of language of like, oh yeah, I've raised some money from a few investors, and it
Mm.
turns out there was like friends and family around, and they got 50K from mum and dad, kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And I think I would have previously found the phrase "raised money from a few investors" to be
Oh
a
yeah.
mark of, well, like, whoa, this is super legit.
Yeah, they've got some
Um,
investors kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that can
I
mean a
think
range of things for
I
sure.
was always very skeptical about the whole like investor thing because I didn't quite get it. Like, wait, people are going to give you money, and then you're going to lose money for a very long time, and eventually they hope to
Mm.
pay you back
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
to that effect. Um, I think also another thing that I had a lot of ignorance around back in the day was. I knew absolutely nothing about sales.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
knew very little about marketing, and so the words sales and marketing, like the word marketing to me, was like, okay, I guess you're going to put out a billboard, or I guess you're
Yeah.
going to, I don't know, make a TV ad or something like that. And the word sales was like, okay, I guess you're going to, I didn't even have like a mental model for what sales was,
Mm.
beyond
Yeah.
like, I guess, you know, a used car salesman in the, you know, the Honda dealership kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I also had no model of delegation and outsourcing, you know, outsourcing in the sense of like, oh, I guess you can outsource to VAs in the Philippines as per the 4-hour work week.
Okay.
But when I was first building SixMed, like 2013 to 2020 or whatever it was,
Mm.
you know, I was spending like, now if I were to coach myself from from 10 years ago, I would say,
Yeah.
bro, you're spending 90% of your time doing operations. You should be spending your time doing marketing and
Biz dev.
actually delivering the
Yeah.
courses, but you're spending all your time on operations. I was like, and I like, I just didn't know that that's what I was
Yeah.
doing, spending all my time
Mm.
on admin and Google Sheet optimization and sending
Oh yeah,
emails
of
to
course.
people and all
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that that's just what I had to do. And it took 6 years later, when I read the E-Myth Revisited in like 2019, I realized, oh, this is a thing
Yeah.
that I could pay someone else to do. And I was paying other people to run the courses, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
not think, in even in my wildest dreams, that I could pay someone to do the admin.
Yeah.
And I had no model of like, you know, my time is worth X doing this sort of thing. This is where I
Yeah.
can really
Yeah.
add value. Actually,
Mm.
me bringing in more students through being, I don't know, the key person of influence, giving talks at schools and shit like that, and putting myself out there to be able to create content around this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had no model that any of that stuff was a thing. So I was spending all my
Mm.
time doing emails and admin. And, you know, back in uni, I'd have people in my room just like hanging out, and I'd be like, oh shit, we've got a course in Manchester in the Hilton Hotel conference room in the basement like tomorrow, but the books that FedEx was supposed to send up there haven't yet arrived. So I need to phone up FedEx 24/7 right now to be like, guys, where the fuck is these books? And like,
Yeah.
oh, their delivery driver ran out of credits. It's like, how is that my problem that
What does that mean?
the delivery driver ran out of credits? Like, what? The books were supposed to arrive yesterday and they've not arrived yet. We've got students arriving in this thing. And so it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was on the phone doing all that admin and stuff, and now I kind of like chuckle
Yeah.
at kind of the naivety of all of that.
In the on the YouTube stuff, when you were earlier in your career, was there stuff that you thought was like really legit and that you were impressed by that you now don't really value, or like can sort of you kind of know what's actually meaningful and valuable in the arena versus
Mm.
what's like smoke and mirrors?
Yeah, I was very impressed by brand deals. Like, whoa, someone's got a sponsorship. Someone's partnering with a company. Like,
I
that's
mean, that
really
is impressive.
legit.
I mean, that is impressive. That's like revenue. That's like getting a if you build a product, that's like getting a sale to a customer. That's the
Uh,
business, right?
yeah, but you know, there are levels, and there are what I found out now is that there are lots of companies that will reach out to really really small YouTubers, pay them absolutely nothing, and say, sort of act as if being an ambassador for our question bank or for our whatever is like itself a valuable thing, and massively like undercharge what they should be charging, and you know, all of this sort of stuff. I think
Mm,
so previously I thought like a YouTuber has made it once they get sponsored by someone, but obviously there are levels of the sponsorship thing.
yeah, yeah.
I think also, if people, when people got stuff gifted on Instagram, I used to be very impressed by
Oh
that. It's like,
yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
a company is giving you this thing for free. Until I got gifted some Daniel Wellington stuff and realized all the strings that are attached to it being gifted Daniel Wellington watches,
Oh really?
and how it's not really a that much of a thing. When I first started, I knew someone who was in a similar niche, like helping people get into med school, who had 4,000 subscribers. I was like, whoa, she's got 4,000 subscribers. Bloody hell, that's incredible. And so my
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I can make content that's at least as good, if not better than this. So maybe someday I could be at 4,000 subscribers. And I was like, if
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
a year from now, if I hit 4,000 subscribers, that'll be cool. 4,000 people. Um,
yeah.
so that's the stuff that I was thinking back in the day, back in 2017.
Yeah, I think in tech it's pretty good because um, there's a guy called Paul Graham who's written lots of essays about like basically about like how to start a startup, what actually matters, what's a waste of time, etc., etc. And so I think if even if you are even if you kind of it's your first rodeo, you can actually just read all of that stuff and you will get the kind of yeah, it can. just kind of get you up to speed on like a lot of important stuff, so that you kind of care about the right things and don't care about the wrong things.
Yeah, I think like if I think of me, if I were to rewind the clock 10 years and be plopped in the middle of 2023 or 2024, I may not even have known that Paul Graham was a person and what to Google to find the right things, because I might have thought like, oh, I guess I just have to figure this out because this is a company
Yeah,
and startups are
yeah,
hard. And
yeah, yeah,
I may not have thought to read a book about it, or two or three or four or five. It's like, I've been selling stuff on the internet for 10 years, if not more. And I've never
yeah,
once read a book on sales and marketing other than like last year when I discovered .com secrets and like
yeah,
$100 million
yeah,
offers. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've been trying to figure this stuff out from first principles from day one. Why did I not just decide to read a book on the topic and
yeah,
like just,
yeah.
or watch a video from someone who does the thing? And
Mm.
I wonder to what extent that's like a common attitude amongst people. Like I'm amazed at myself that it took me so long to read a book on sales and marketing, and it just transformed the way that we sell stuff, because it's like, oh, okay, I get it. There are there are
Yeah,
principles and frameworks of this.
yeah. What about like book writing? Obviously, you've written this book recently that's coming out pretty soon. Was there? I mean, yeah, I guess at the point at which you started to write the book, you were well connected, where you could like,
Yeah,
chat to other authors and say, "Yo, what's this whole book writing thing about?"
yeah.
Was that is that kind of how you kind of got up to speed on like the whole thing, or like was there did you like do the whole first draft just taking a stab at it without trying to like you know uh learn anything about the field or
Yeah, yeah, pretty much actually. I don't. Again, if I could coach myself from back then, I had read a couple of books like on writing well and things like that, just like over the years,
Hmm.
and had
Yeah,
listened to
yeah, yeah,
interviews of like James Clear on Tim Ferriss show, or like Mark Manson on whatever, or I don't know, Julian Shapiro talking to a few authors and things. I was like, okay, cool. I've listened to a handful of podcasts with authors talking about their writing process. I've read on writing well.
yeah,
Okay, I guess that's about it. Um, what
yeah,
I wish I had done 3.5 years ago when I started writing the book was like speak to someone like and just go into the nuts and bolts of what does it look like to put a book together. And the only person who'd made content about that I saw at the time was Ryan Holiday, who he's got this like note card system and stuff, but that seemed too elaborate. So I was like, okay,
okay,
I'm just gonna ignore that. So I should like do it in like Roam Research or something, but I didn't know
okay,
what
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
screen share, like Zoom screen share version of writing a book looked like. I just knew the high level, the sort of
yeah,
things that James Clear would talk about on the Tim Ferriss show, high level version of writing a book looked like.
yeah,
Because obviously he's not going to go into the nuts and bolts. And I wish I'd
yeah,
shadowed someone to look at the nuts and bolts of it, because it would have helped me realize, oh,
yeah.
you're using a reference manager. Shit, that's a good idea. I only started using that 2 years into the journey
Yeah.
because I was trying to keep track of PDFs until then. And
Oh,
it was a
really?
random
Oh,
conversation with like a
wow.
random YouTuber friend to be like,
Yeah.
where he asked me, what's your reference manager? And I was like, I used Mendeley in 2015 when I was in med school. And he was like, how are you keeping track of your references for this book? And I was like, he was like, have you heard of Zotero? I was like, no. He was like, okay, you need to download this thing right now. And I was like, oh my God, why did I not know this two
Oh,
years ago?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so I think that sort of stuff. Similar. Yeah, yeah. I think this is it. Here's the thing, right? I also think this is such a gap in the market right now in terms of like there are loads of people on YouTube trying to create content about like how to grow a business. Everyone's realizing
Yeah.
seeing what Alex Hormozi is doing, and every like rich entrepreneur that I know is like,
Who's
I could be
that?
the
Wait,
next
wait.
Alex.
Who's Alex Hormozi, mate? Who's
Oh,
that?
mate, you don't spend a lot of time on business YouTube. Is this like okay? Let me try and explain Alex Hormozi. He's this absolutely jacked
Right.
33-year-old who does content about building $100 million business. And he's written two books so far:
Okay.
$100 million offers and $100 million leads, which are both really, really good. His stuff is really legit. He does like
Okay.
hour-long keynotes at conferences and stuff, and he's just like very no nonsense, very like right, bang, bang, bang. Here's how you build a business.
So what's his is he so it looks like
His
he
business
owns
model.
acquisition.com. Is that his
Yeah, his business model is that his free content helps you to get to 3 million revenue, and once you're at 3 million revenue, then
okay.
he wants to acquire a portion of your company and help it grow to 30 million or something like that. So he gets deal flow through his
Cool.
content, but
Okay.
he's like the hottest thing in entrepreneurship these days. Yeah, a lot of it is kind of outside the B2B SaaS tech world. He's not that
Yeah,
huge in that
sure, sure.
department. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of like bricks and mortar, like a normal business. like a service business or like a,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know, a
sure.
gym
Yeah,
chain,
yeah, yeah,
that kind of
sure.
thing. But people are
Yeah.
seeing but he's blown up over the last couple of years, with his short form content, his long form content, giving advice on how to grow businesses. And it's like some of it
Okay.
is high level and some of it is nuts and boltsy. But loads of people are trying to get in on that because a lot of like post exit founders are like, hey, I've got all this knowledge about growing a business, so let me just make YouTube videos about it, and things like that. But what
Yeah.
no one is doing the Zoom screen shares. What no one is doing like a, let's see what your Google sheet
Ah.
actually looks like, what
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
showing your OKRs and KPIs, and like
Yeah.
how the frick are you tracking all
Yeah.
these numbers and things? Because that
Yeah.
is what I was missing, even as late as 6 months
Yeah.
ago or a year ago,
Yeah, for
where
sure. Yeah.
I'd read John Doerr's book about OKRs and I knew the concept in theory, but there's something about watching a screen share of someone doing the thing where you're like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, that's
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
looks
It's so
like.
different. Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it. That's what your
Yeah.
dashboard looks like. Cool. So now when I meet entrepreneurs, I'm like,
Yeah.
do you guys have dashboards? And they're like, of course. And I'm like, can I have a look? It just gives me ideas because I still
Oh yeah,
don't have
I
enough
love
data
seeing like
points.
internal
Yeah.
dashboards. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that shit.
Yeah, it's really fun to see like yeah, internal project management and dashboards and yeah, these kinds of things
Yeah, and no one shows
for
that
other
stuff
businesses.
on like YouTube videos. So, so massive
Yeah.
opportunity for anyone here to actually be the nuts and bolts business
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd seen
Yeah,
more
I
of that
think
when I got
I think
started.
this the like the shadowing slash screen sharing thing I think could save a lot of people a lot of time because so before starting Causal, I worked at this company called Retool for like 8 months or something. The founders and I were at uni together, and so kind of joined them for a bit, and it was yeah probably like the most valuable thing from that 8 months for me was just being in the room while the founders did sales calls. You're just hearing like a sales call, a bunch of sales calls live in the room, and like trying my hand at a couple. Just that itself of just like hearing how the call, how a sales call kind of just like what the vibe is basically. Just that was unbelievably valuable. And then watching the process of like watching like the emailing process of like sending email follow-ups and doing outbound and like what kind of stuff do you say in an outbound, just like the really in the weeds of like really just sales basics, just like being exposed to that live and kind of being part of that process was like I think probably saved would it would have taken us 6 to 12 months to like pick those things up or like figure out where to pick those things up or whatever. Like, and so when we started Causal, like I knew what freaking Calendly was, and it was like great. The first thing we're gonna do is set up a Calendly, set up this thing. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set up an email automation so that when someone signs up to our waiting list or whatever, they get a sequence of 3 emails: an initial email with 2 follow-ups after 2 days each, and we send them this freaking Calendly link to get them on an initial call. And like we know what the sales call kind of it's like it would have taken us so long just to figure out figure that stuff out. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, mate. I think there's a lot of truth in this stuff. And this is the thing that that no one talks about. And I guess people do talk about it because they say that experience is valuable and hiring people with experience is valuable. And something Dan Priestley often says is like, if you want to start a startup, the best thing you can do is work for a business that has fewer than 10 employees and do that for 2 years, because the intangibles that you'll pick up along the way are huge.
Yeah.
Whereas people instead have this view of like, I want to start a startup, therefore I'm going to join McKinsey and work as a consultant for 2 years, where actually you have no visibility over the P&L. You have no visibility over anything beyond like the small cog in the machine that you are there.
Yeah.
And so the learning is a lot less in terms of all of these different intangibles, um,
Yeah.
like how to send an email and what a sales call looks like. And even as we're talking about this,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
realizing, we're about to launch like a productivity coaching community type situation. And we've
Yeah.
kind of done it before with our YouTuber Academy and been doing that for like 2+ years. So we kind of know the process. But actually, this is different than other stuff that we're doing. And I do, in fact, know lots of people who are literally doing the thing that we're trying to do. So I could just hop on calls with them or get the
Yeah.
team to hop on calls with them to be like, hey,
Yeah.
can we just
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
Zoom
That's
screen
huge.
share? Like,
That's huge. Yeah.
what does your thing look like?
Yeah.
Because it's not a thing that, at least for me, is not a thing that comes to mind. Actually, in fairness, like,
Yeah.
one thing Alex Hormozi often talks about in his content is like, figure out where you are right now, figure out where you want to be, then figure out who is out there who has done that jump from where you are to where you want to be, and go and talk to them. Like, do whatever it takes. Fly to them, hang out with them, like attend their mastermind.
Yeah.
Paying $50K to hang out with them, if that's what it takes, is going to make you way more money than that in the long term, because of the amount of hassle you'll save by actually speaking to someone who's been through the process.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. How do we get onto this? Were we talking about the calendar app thing?
Oh, second time founders, Chrome extension.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's fun, man. There's something really magical about starting something from zero, and just I feel like we're all also just like on the same page, about like what level of complexity is required for this V1. Whereas I think like 5 or 10 years ago, probably like way overthought it. Whereas like I think it took very little discussion for us to decide like, okay, what's how deep do we want to go before launching this like first thing over a couple of days over Christmas. Whereas I think like 5 or 10 years ago, it would have been like, we would probably just gone down like loads of rabbit holes and random stuff, and overthought a bunch of things and over-engineered a bunch of things, and yeah, it's so much fun, man. It's sick. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, yes, that's my answer to what I've been up to recently. How are you feeling about the book launch? So actually, I went to Waterstones today in Cambridge, and your freaking book was there on the shelf, mate. It was right next to Atomic Habits. It was on the same. It was on like the productivity row. It was your book, and then on the right, to the right of it, was Atomic Habits, and then there was something else, and then there was Diary of a CEO. Wait, let me find the picture. But yeah, wait. So what's the deal with that? I thought it was getting released on the 28th. Why is Waterstones front running you or whatever?
Yeah,
How to
don't
change your
know.
life?
Apparently, this happens. Like, we mentioned this to our editor, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this is a thing. Like, some bookstores will just happen to stock it, and it won't be like Waterstone's international policy to stock the book before the 28th, but like some individual bookstores will be like, well, technically it's out on the 28th, but actually our team who's doing the shelves is off that day, and so let's just put it out early."
Oh
That kind
yeah,
of
that
stuff.
kind of stuff. Yeah, fair.
And so I'm starting to see pictures and Instagram stories and stuff from people that are like, "Whoa, it's in bookstores! Like, that's cool."
Oh really? Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
So
pretty good
it
actually.
was on the sort of. It seems like there's kind of like a sort of like a productivity shelf. So on the productivity row, there's like yours, Atomic Habits, How to Change Your Life, and Diary of a CEO.
Nice.
On the shelf above it, I'm trying to think of the theme. There's Mark Manson's Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. There is a book called Black Girl No Magic. I can't quite make out what it's about from the sort of blurry picture I took of the shelf. There's Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before from Dr. Judy Smith.
Oh yeah, she's a friend of mine.
And then there's a book called Toxic, Women, Fame, and the Naughty. So I don't really know the theme of the rest of the shelf, but it seems like your row is like the productivity theme.
Nice. Yeah, man.
Yeah, how are you feeling about it?
How am I feeling about it?
I think last time when we chatted, we were talking about like the New York Times list and getting the pre-orders, and how you think it'd be good, good character building experience if you don't get on the list and stuff. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, I haven't really thought too hard about it since then. I think it's like the arrow is now squarely out of the bow and so close to the target that there is like nothing I can do to influence its course now.
Okay, yeah.
And so now my whole thing is I'm just trying to enjoy the ride. Like, we're getting emails from the publisher being like, "Hey, the numbers are up and our Amazon ranking is this." And I'm like, "Cool, that sounds reasonable." Got an email yesterday being like, "Hey, we've got 33 translation deals so far outside of English."
Whoa. Okay.
So at various points in 2024, all of the different translations of the books of the book are coming out in various the 6 different varieties of Hindi, like simplified Chinese, complex Chinese, Japanese, Italian, Spanish, French, German, whole shebang. It's like, that's kind of cool. Starting to see pictures of the book cover in different languages. Annoyingly, the French cover has my face on it, but it's like a really old photo where they've tried to kind of cut me out of the background, and it's a bit jank. But
no!
the French publisher was like,
"Wait,
"We want to have
you don't get a say? You don't get a say in that?"
No, I mean, I could probably hop on a call with them and try and convince them why my face on the cover is a bad idea. But like, you know, they specialize in selling books in their territory, so they know this stuff more so than I would. And so it's all happening, man. It's kind of weird. Yeah, it is kind of weird. I'm just like, I just actually hope it's good. One of these days we should do Ali Abdal reads negative reviews of his book, a podcast episode.
Oh yes, mate. Yes, we should.
And we should see what that's like, because I made the mistake of, well, it wasn't really a mistake. I happened to look on Goodreads because I was like looking for something else, and I saw that like I'd started to get some reviews of the book, and I was like, oh wait a minute,
it's on good. Wait, really? Oh wait.
Yeah, because the publishers has sent, hey, don't tell me anything because I don't want to know. Feel free to read a 5-star review, but I don't want to know what the rating is, and I don't want to know any less than 5-star reviews right now. Yeah. I'll look at those a little bit later.
Nice.
But I saw the rating and I saw some reviews, and I was like, wait, well, people have left reviews. And I looked, and I saw there were a couple of
49 reviews. There's 49 reviews, mate.
That's pretty good.
There's 78 ratings and 49 reviews already. Wow.
Yeah. And I saw like one 3-star review from some guy as a specialist book reviewer being like, I'm probably not the target audience for this, but ... And then I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. And then I mentioned it to my agent because I was having dinner with her in Sydney. And she was like, oh, don't worry about Goodreads. Like, people are often more critical than is warranted on Goodreads and stuff. So now there's that whole thing around like, and I've heard other authors talk about this, and so I'm curious as to what my own reactions will be. But the whole like, you know, reading negative reviews always makes you feel bad, and so you realize at some point that it's not even worth reading them because it's out of your control now, and you know, all of this stuff. So yeah, we'll see.
But that's interesting, because I would have thought that, like, you know, from creating content on the internet for the last, like, I don't know, 6 years or whatever, you'd be over the whole like negative reviews thing. But I guess is it basically that like the book is like a kind of, you know, a new thing for you, and so it's still like you're still like a sort of is that it?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much that. It's like I've spent so long working on this. I've poured a lot of my heart and soul into this thing, and also it's my first time writing a book, so there is part of me that's like, oh shit, what if it's not any good, and what if everyone's just blowing air up my ass when the editors and the publishers and the agents and the feedback people were like, yeah, it's really good. It's like, what if all of that is not in fact true and the book is in fact shit and people are just finding out about it now? It's like that whole imposter syndrome thing.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Damn. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Maybe in a few weeks we could do an episode.
In a few weeks we could do an episode.
I'm just going to the reviews now. Yeah. Mate. Oh, mate, this is so interesting. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna read these.
Yeah, so there's good reviews. There's Amazon reviews. I've not looked at the Amazon reviews yet. Actually, I don't know if you can post Amazon reviews. I don't know if you can post Amazon reviews yet, because I think you can only do that when the book is out. But I haven't looked. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's no Amazon reviews, mate.
So it's all interesting. It's all happening. And then in theory, I'm going to be on daytime TV in Australia 2 days from now.
Oh, really? I thought that got cancelled. Did it get postponed?
It got cancelled because there were floods in Queensland on the day that I was meant to be, like 3 days ago. Yeah. But it's now happening on Boxing Day in the morning, apparently. They're going to ask me, so Ali, you know, what are your tips for productivity for the new year, or something to that effect? So I need to get my sound bites ready and like speak from the heart.
Okay, yeah. So what's the deal with like daytime TV segments? Can you like peel back the curtain a little bit? So how long is your segment? Like, what do you get? How many minutes do you get on the air?
I think about 4. About 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, are you going to be like sitting on the couch? Is that the vibe? You'll be like sitting on the couch for 4 minutes.
Yeah, I think so. So the one that's happening on 2 days from now is the Today Show, which is a Australian. It's sort of like BBC Breakfast, but for Australia. When they bring people on, they'll bring them on the couch. They'll like do the thing and probably turn to me on the side and ask me a few questions, and then like seamlessly segue into the next thing with the timer counting down and stuff. So I don't know. It'll be a new experience. I had a bit of a media training Zoom call with the US publisher like a few days ago, and they were saying basically, like,
what did they say?
Yeah, the way these daytime TV segments work is that the job of the host is to just feed you softballs Just like, what's something interesting that we can ask? And your job as the author or as the person doing the talking is to be concise, be interesting, and be helpful, even if it's not specifically answering the question that they've asked, because they don't actually care about you answering the question.
Okay.
They care about you, being engaging and useful for their viewers.
Yeah.
So it's like their job is to throw you questions. Your job is to, bring home the 3 points that you care about bringing home, because those are the valuable things to take away. And so we were like rehearsing some of that and kind of doing a few dry runs of like, so Ollie, what's your book about? And it's like, well, blah, 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 that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay. And so, for example, like, obviously you are there to, you are there to promote your book. They are having you on because you have a book coming out. Like, how scripted is it? Like, do they basically send you a list and say, hey, this is what we're going to ask you, please have some good answers ready or something? Or is it like it's not that scripted?
Yeah. Okay. So each of these TV shows has a producer for each segment, and so the producer, like I'm doing in a US TV show as well. I'm sort of in the producer has sent me an email with 5 questions of like roughly these are the sorts of things that they're going to ask you. But then on the day, like depending on what happens, the host of the show could go off script, or they could stick to the plan. Or if they're like super interested, they might say, "Oh, my kid actually watches your YouTube channel. Oh my goodness!" Like which is off script,
Nice.
and you just have to kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
But the idea is that
Yeah.
the producer plans out the segment and gives you a heads up to be like, roughly these are the things that they're going to want to ask you about.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So,
And so
really interesting.
And so you have a few like spiels that you want to get across that you've kind of rehearsed and stuff like that. Have you done that yet? Are you going to be like practicing over the next couple of days? Is it not that deep, and you at this point you can kind of just spitball it because you've talked about it enough? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really rehearsed the spiels very much. I also don't want to, because I don't want to come across as rehearsed. I kind of know what the arc is of, if they ask how did the book come about, the arc is I was overwhelmed as a doctor. I discovered that I could change the approach to my work. I discovered feel good productivity. Boom. They might ask, how did your parents feel about you leaving medicine to be a YouTuber? I'll spitball that on the day. They might ask, what's one thing that viewers can take away for the new year? And that thing is going to be like, look, whatever you're doing, find a way to enjoy the process, because that's what matters. I know what the answer is, so I'll just sort of spitball it and try and connect with the heart and soul, and speak it out on the day.
Yeah. Nice. Sick, man. That's so cool. What about like so you're doing a few daytime TV show type things like that in different places. Are there other like promo stuff you'll be doing? Will you be on like lots of podcasts over the next few weeks or whatever? Like what does your life look like with regards to the book over the next couple of months? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. So over the last the last 2 months or so, my life has been taken over by big promo, which is why I'm flying around all these different parts of the world to feature on podcasts and do collabs with people. I've had a bunch of kind of Zoom print media interviews. So like Inc. Magazine is doing something, business.com is doing something. It's featured on The Verge's podcast recently. It's like they might do something. ConvertKit is doing a big write-up or has done it. So there's all sorts of like random, creator adjacent, but also not creator adjacent media things that are happening. And then January, I'll be mostly in London, where I'm giving a few talks. One at like LSE, one at Cambridge, one at the How To Academy, doing more podcasts and things like that. So like January is pretty much chock-a-block with book promotional related activities. And then I want to sort of take a step back from it and just focus on the chop wood, carry water of make more YouTube videos, which is like my bread and butter.
Yeah. Okay, nice. And before we wrap up, like once the book is out there, like how do you get money from this thing? Like if I go into Waterstones next week and buy the book, like what, how does that come back to you?
Yeah. So authors get quarterly royalty checks from their publisher / agent.
Okay.
So every quarter you get a check, or like I'm sure these days it's an automatic bank transfer with your royalties. And generally authors earn between like 7.5% to 15% royalty on each sale. So if the book sells for 20 quid, I'll probably make like £1.50 maybe, or something like
Nice.
that.
Okay.
There's, the retailer gets a massive cut, the publisher gets a cut, the agent gets a cut, and then eventually,
Yeah.
trickle down economics goes to the author,
Yeah.
and you get your £1.50. And so if you were to buy the book from Waterstones for 20 quid, I would probably make about somewhere
Yeah.
between 1 and 2 quid from that sale, I suspect. It's different for ebook, it's different for Audible. I think I make more through the Audible sales and a little bit more through the ebook sales, but every quarter I get the checks in. But first you have to earn out your advance. So
Oh
they
yeah.
give you
Yeah.
money up front, and then you sort of pay that off with the royalties, and then at that point you actually start
Yeah.
earning the royalties. But I think the stat
Yeah.
is like 90% or something of books never earn out their advance. So they never sell enough
Damn.
copies to actually pay back the
Brutal.
publisher for the money that they've gotten. But it's sort of
Yeah.
like the VC. Every now and then you'll get an Atomic Habits that is a complete cash cow
Yeah.
that funds the next
Yeah.
1,000
Yeah.
books in that publisher's like arsenal, or a Harry Potter that then
Yeah.
funds everything that publisher ever does. So
Yeah.
they're making those sorts of bets.
But basically, for the rest of your life, every quarter you'll get a little check from like your book sales forever or something. Or is there
Yeah,
like a time limit on this?
no, it's like forever, in
Forever.
perpetuity. Yeah, pretty much. And then when I die, it's
Sick.
like the Ali Abdal family trust or foundation or whatever then gets the royalties, or that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Um, and then you
Mate,
also get
passive
different.
income.
It's passive income. It's also like we have these like 33 different translation things. So it's like
Yeah.
possible. I don't know how that process is going to work, but I think I'll
Yeah.
probably get checks for like, the Germany
Yeah.
royalties have come through for 2023. Here is your 314 euros or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the agent, the
That's funny.
literary agent, acts as the sort of middleman for all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That's
It'll
sick,
be
man. Awesome.
exciting
All right.
time.
Well, looking forward to the launch. On that note, I think we better start wrapping up. It's 11 p.m., which is
11
way
p.m.
past my bedtime.
My goodness.
Any final things you want to share? Oh yeah, a little shout out from me. Lucia, my wife, was on a podcast recently called 80,000 Hours Podcast, talking about her work eliminating lead poisoning in various countries. And her organization is actually hiring for I think like 5 different roles right now. So if you're interested in sort of pretty high impact, public health, global health, non-profit type work, check out leadelimination.org, and you can see the open roles that they have. And I think if you just follow them on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever, you should be able to find a link to this podcast where you can listen to Lucia talk for an hour and a half or 2 hours or something about the work as well. So I wanted to give a little plug, little family plug.
Nice. We'll put a little link in the video description, the show notes as well, if you want to check out the pod.
Nice one.
Yeah.
All right.
Good stuff.
Good stuff,
All right, cheers,
man.
Taimur.
I'll catch
Thanks
you
for listening,
soon.
everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye.